A while ago, I made a video trying to debunk some of the myths that has been going around about the illegal immigrants in the United States. And I received some comments that in this video, I want to comprehensively try to address, and hopefully we can settle this once for all. Now, some of you made comments, one pointing out that, for example, in New York, there's food cards that is available to illegal immigrants, or speaking of the, for example, the hospitals that are required to treat the patients, even though they don't have any insurance or respected their medical immigration status. So those are the things that we're going to cover as part of this video. Number one, having to do with the Social Security benefits that are available to US citizens and some legal immigrants who paid into the Social Security system. So if you do not have a legal immigration in the United States, you do not qualify for any type of those benefits. The benefits that Social Security administration offers in US to citizens and a selective group of legal immigrants range from the retirement benefit to disability benefit, as well as the survival benefits for the spouses who lost a spouse who was working and did have some qualifying record of income during the years that they were living. The fourth one is SSI, or supplemental security income, and that is mostly given to people who are disabled or are 65 years and older and can show that, because of essentially not having any source of income and inability to work because of the old age, they qualify for a limited amount. It's much lesser than that of retirement benefit or disability, both of which are based on the number of the years and the amount of the income that the person has earned, meaning that you have to have contributed to the system in order to be able to get anything out of it under those two benefits. Long story short, and nonetheless, so illegal immigrants do not receive any benefits under SSI or any other Social Security benefits. Unfortunately, we're facing this demagogue that has no shame of trying to go about and pulling any kind of a lie that he can, and I don't know what has happened to many Americans. It seems like they're not aware that the person who so easily, without any kind of a moral compass, goes about and lying, not being capable of doing some more grandeur harms to themselves as well. But that's another story. Unfortunately, this is an area that right now in 2024, just like the era of McCartney, we face. This is the second round of the demagogue that we are facing, who, in my personal opinion, I don't know even how that's legal for somebody to try to pull the racial and essentially religious issues into political election, that is all about unity, supposedly, that people have to come in, and the ideas about that, in a competitive free society, everybody should be entitled to their belief system religiously, or having to do with their race, the visible as well as intangibles. Anyway, so moving on. However, speaking of the Social Security benefits, illegal immigrants, by the statute of the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, as well as the local statutes, even though they don't have a legal status in the United States as far as immigration goes, they are obligated to pay taxes. Now, most of these illegal immigrants, because they're illegal, they don't qualify as an employee, and they only can work as an independent contractor. So what that translates into that is that if you are an illegal immigrant and you're working as an independent contractor, you have to pay both sides of the share of the Social Security employment tax that is exerted upon people. So if you're an employee, you only pay, half of that. If you're an independent contractor, you're considered both employee and employer at the same time, and total you would pay 15.3% of your net income. So essentially, through various vehicles, whether it is social security taxes or income taxes, collectively in 2024, immigrants paid about $20 million in taxes, in federal taxes, and $12 million in local taxes. So they contributed roughly about $32 million in taxes to federal as well as the state taxes, even though they don't qualify for any of the benefits that come out of it, specifically speaking the social security benefits that somebody's entitled to. So they contribute to it, and they fund the retirement funds of many US citizens and legal immigrants, but they do not get anything out of it. This is one of the ironies that unfortunately it seems like nobody wants to talk about it even to begin with. However, apparently they're very liberal to trying to even take that repulsive stance and try to actually badmouth them and try to incriminate illegal immigrants. So moving on, the second section has to do with education. Now, in United States, yes, it is mandatory. If you're under 19 years of age, federal law does extend education benefits to children irrespective of their immigration status. So that's something that under that umbrella, yes, that is correct. Illegal immigrants also, their children under 19, they also qualify for up to K-12 education. But the thing about that is that out of all the population of the children that attend these schools, only 1.3% are illegal immigrants. So the numbers that we're talking about are very marginal. They're only 1.3%. Think about it. I mean, essentially 98% of the students are either legal immigrants with particularly with lawful permanent residence, or they're US citizens, and only 1.3%, a very little margin, happen to benefit from what we're talking about. The third category has to do with state means tested benefits, such as TANF, for example, which is a emergency cash money that given to families who are needy, and that's a loan. You have to pay it back. As well as food stamp, for example. In the state of California and some other states, for example, they refer to it by a slightly different name. For example, California calls it CalFresh. None of these programs, under any circumstances, irrespective of whether it's a state funds or federal funds, no state offers any kind of a benefits as these means tested goes to illegal immigrants. No matter what state you live in, you do not qualify for any of these benefits. The fourth one has to do with health insurance. So here's a part that before I want to expand on the health side, I need to clarify something in particular. I think I understand that some of the viewers are perhaps European viewers, or essentially they're international viewers who might not be, they're not familiar with the U.S. Taxation as well as the federal versus state level of management that's happening. And I know that some of them are searching for affirmation of their negative views towards immigrants in their own country, especially with the movements that far rights happening in European countries, in particular, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, as well as United Kingdom. So I want to, first of all, before I want to go in depth about that, I want to clarify that. So the way that the allocation and apportioning of the funds goes, we have the state funds as well as the federal funds. So what happens is that the federal government pulls in from various venues, tax revenues and state revenues from the states, and then it would go on to try to redistribute them evenly to other states who have less of these revenues, to try to even out the states who have essentially they're undermined and they're diminished in terms of their tax revenue. For example, some states like Midwest states are mostly agricultural based, unlike states like California, Washington, or New York, which are mostly industrialized and tech savvy, and they bring in higher levels of revenue. Now, as far as the federal revenue goes, very little amount is allocated to emergency funds of supplying the Medicaid program. There are some states, such as California, for example, that, in the aftermath of the COVID tragedy that happened, they start to get the wake-up call and they realize that, we need to cover everybody because it's a reciprocal matter, and if you have people around us who are sick, that ultimately can turn back on us, and this is not something that we can let it go. So the issue is not even about human rights or things of that nature. It's just that if you have people who don't have a good health and nonetheless they happen to be around you, you're literally serving yourself by trying to make sure that they have access to proper care. So in light of that, 6 states have started programs to try to offer health insurance to illegal immigrants, that is irrespective of the immigration status. So those states are California, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, New York, and Maryland. So these 6 states currently are offering medical insurance and access to health insurance irrespective of immigration status of their state citizens. Even though these programs are available in these 6 states, for example, if you take California, only the 6% of the the federal the state fund that was apportioned to the health insurance was granted to the population of the illegal immigrants. So the remainder went still to the population of the people who were legal immigrants as well as the U.S. citizens. Now, at the end note, what I wanted to add is that, for example, here's what's happening. The current situation, for example, in Florida, we have Governor DeSantis. In 2023, Governor DeSantis went ahead and, in my opinion, a very repulsive action that he took on was to enact a law that essentially required the hospitals to ask patients who come in about their immigration status. So you might find this hard to believe, but very effectively this worked, and ever since that June 2023 that this happened, within 2 months, the amount of the illegal immigrants who were seen in hospitals as emergency patients reduced, their funding that was allocated to them reduced by 54%. So nearly just like that, just by simply requiring hospitals to ask the question, are you a legal immigrant? What is your immigration status? It created a fear in many people, thinking that, oh my God, if I'm going to answer that question, next step is that God knows some Homeland Security officials gonna show up and they're gonna take me away because now they know that I'm legal. It's a satanic systems that unfortunately we have in America, and somehow they're legal. I want to close out this video just trying to tell you one thing, that I think really U.S. citizens, they need to be aware of. If you go to any part of the world, for the most part, especially European counterparts of the Western Hemisphere that we live in, they have resolved this one problem. If anybody manages to cross the border within those European countries and essentially arrives there, automatically all they have to do is just go to some related authority office and try to present themselves, and they're granted some kind of legal status. That doesn't mean that they're given some kind of a benefit necessary or something, but at least it solves their immigration aspect. That is, they have this at least, mental safety, psychological security, that feeling that, I'm legal living in this country. I'm not at least violating any kind of a law by being here present illegally. And I'm saying that because I want you to just put yourself in shoes of those illegal immigrants here. Just imagine you, by the burden of having to feed yourself and your family in search of a job, you migrate to another country, and just imagine a month or two you be in that country illegally because that country doesn't provide you such a venue, and that country is the United States. In a very demonic way, we're putting a ton of anxiety and pain on these people and mental anguish that I don't know how it is that for a country with the standards of the United States is even plausible, but unfortunately we're doing that. These people automatically, just by being in this country, undergo a massive amount of mental anguish and pain, which makes you wonder, after all, why once in a while some of them make their news that you hear that, okay, I don't know, such a guy from Mexico or El Salvador who was illegal, coincidentally committed such a crime. Well, you put such an unnecessary pain on somebody that, is totally and easily can be fixed just by issuing them some kind of a temporary status that doesn't even give them any kind of a work permit, anything. You're just telling them that, okay, now that you're here, we're just extending you this kind of a paper, which means that you're living here legally. We're not giving you legal status. We're just giving you a piece of paper that says that you can just be here legally till, we figure out what we're gonna do with you. And a final solution that I'm offering to all of those who are pursuing these negative incrimination and allegation against the illegal immigrants is that I know where this comes from, because they're thinking that they're somehow benefiting for free from the system, or they're taking the jobs as Mr. Trump's tried to incriminate the illegal immigrants. The truth is that the solution to any of these problems, whether you're even talking about the US citizen, has to do very simple solution. If you just bring everybody on a legal level, that is, you try to eliminate this two-tier system, everything automatically, by the virtue of the demand and supply, would be fixed. Just like that. Even citizens who live in this country, it's a simple matter. Your immigration status is not going to factor in when it comes to forces of economics. If I'm living here in America and I feel like, there's no job available to me, immediately I'll try to start looking at something maybe outside. It's a very simple thing. So what is happening in our country is that, unfortunately, because we don't extend the legal status to these people, employers who should be blamed for this, they're incentivized to try to bring these people on board and give them lower wages, abuse them, don't even pay them for months even in a row. I've met and I've worked with many illegal immigrants who were telling me that they work in construction sites, they don't get paid on time. If they get paid, typically it's much lesser than what was promised originally for them. Usually it takes about 2-3 months. Once they get paid, they can't even have a legally, access to a bank account, so they have to go and cash in their checks. In some place, we would take like about 1% or 2% out of it. So all these things done and said and done, finally they're able to make an honest living in the society, while all the time they're thinking that somebody's after them. And I can't even talk about it. This pain that's you thinking you're somewhere illegally. Why do we do this? This doesn't make sense. All the world has solved this problem. We're the laughing stock of the entire world because we just, for our own benefit, that we know it, we have created this system. We know what we can do with this. And it's causing a lot of corruption and a lot of loophole problems, underground issues in this country, which apparently nobody wants to fix them, but the victims are always who see the consequences of it. I hope we can one by one fix these problems. follow one for more. Take care.